Welcome back, my Aboutdre peoples. You already know what time it is today. It is another review, and this time is going to be the Netflix hit series On the Block, one of my personal favorite shows of Netflix and of the past few years. But did season 4 live up to the hype, and did it end on a satisfying note? Let's check it out. All right, so the show picks up where we left out on season 3, where it fast forward 2 years. And everyone is pretty much going their separate ways. Monte is in the school, I think it's Free Ridge. And Jamal is like the popular guy, and him and Ruby are no longer friends. Pretty much none of them are friends anymore. And sadly, Caesar is now the leader of the Santos gang. And we find out what happened and where are they at now and how it all ends. And I will say, right off the rip at episode 1, I had all the feels because we immediately jumped right back into these characters that we love and that we've pretty much seen grow up and that we felt connected to, whether you were young or old. And what brings them back together is that they found the body of the head leader of the Santos gang. And remember, she got, I love this show, personally. I feel like it was great to see a story about young people of color growing up that was from the hood, but what it did was it told that story so in a different way. It told it more in a comical way. It told it more of like the CW, WB back in the day melodrama romance of like will they not, type of way with Monse and Caesar. But it also told or showed the kind of like the issues that's when you're from the hood with gangs and everything, but it did not romanticize it. And also they took those tropes and they flipped it on its head, and I always appreciated that about this story, about this series. And also for the most important part, we love these characters. Like, these characters, we root for them. They're funny, they're weird, they get themselves into the most outlandish types of situations, but we enjoy that. And I'm happy that the season, for the most part, stuck to its core roots, and it gave the characters a place to grow. Was I happy with every decision that was made? No. I felt like a lot of decisions that were made were forced. I felt like a lot of decisions that were made was typical, predictable, and I feel like a lot of decisions were made was because of like behind the scenes studio, maybe COVID related stuff. Now, I have to get into the most probably going to be the most talked about thing, and that is spooky. Everyone's favorite. If you don't know, this is a spoiler review, so if you don't want to know anything before you've seen the series, please turn away and come back later. And I'm gonna give you 2 seconds. 1, 2. Okay, let's do it. First of all, Julio Macinas is like probably one of my favorite up and coming actors. I'm happy that Julio Macinas took this character that could have been one-dimensional if someone else would have played this part. But he took this character and made him so interesting, so complex, that it just like, it made me root for him, not just his character, but him as an actor, because like, he made decisions that he chose different decisions that, other people would have kind of like ran from and just took the easy way. And I appreciate him for doing that. I really hope, and I'm still like rooting for this guy, like I really hope he can be like Green Lantern in this Black Canary movie that's coming out. I know this is off track, but I am rooting for him to be Green Lantern. I mean, not Green Lantern, Green Arrow, you know what I mean. I'm rooting for him to be Green Arrow because I feel like he has that kind of like mystery, that kind of darkness that Spooky has, and I just feel like he can bring that to that character, and I just would love to just see him and Journey kind of like do something great. Listen, Julio's great. The fact that when the chemistry with him and Caesar was one of the highlights of this show. Julio's so great that I felt like he brought more out of Diego, who plays Caesar. I feel like their chemistry was just all off the chain that, sometimes when actors get together, the chemistry be so great that one person can like bring something more out of another person. That's what they did. Like that scene, even though, and I get into that after this, I personally am like on the fence of why Spooky got killed. And even though I saw it coming, the emotion, they never took away the emotions that I felt from that loss. Because I love the character so much. And I feel like a lot of people love that character so much. It didn't take away from it. I still felt every bit of it. It was, and then it was heartbreaking because one thing I did like about the choices they made for the series is that they never showed us who killed Spooky. And because of that, he made the decision not to tell Caesar because he didn't want him to retaliate. And he saved his brother that way. And I loved it. That small little moment, it's just like he was like, no, I'm not going to tell you. That broke my heart. Like, it's just certain decisions like that I just like, okay, I like that. I feel like this show, because it always took the tropes of growing up in the hood and it flipped it, I feel like it should have stayed that way because anyone with 2 eyes and 2 ears could have seen and heard Spooky demise coming. And I feel like since that, I feel like it would have been so much doper if they didn't make that decision. Not only that, I feel like we've seen enough of the sacrificial lamb of a person from the hood saving their little brother or sister. I feel like, why not show something different? We've seen that before. I feel like it's been done to death. And I just feel like, I don't know. I wasn't feeling, I didn't like, I guess I don't like the decision now. And I'm speaking now, I really didn't like the choice of killing Spooky off. I feel like there was other ways we could have took to kind of get to that arc of saving Caesar. I feel like there could have been another way, in my opinion, because I feel like we've seen this so many times over the years with these types of stories. And with that decision, that's one of the issues I have with the seasons. Actually, with the entire series is that they always kind of like use a lot of plot devices, and it's always forced. It feels lazy when they do that because there's so many plot devices within this entire show. It doesn't feel natural. It always feel like it's just the easy way out, and that's what I hate. I didn't like much as I love Ruby characters, as much as I love Jasmine characters, them together is like, it was too much this season. I felt like you spent too much time on that relationship, way too much time, that I don't know if it was like a scheduling thing or behind the scenes thing with Monse or Sierra, who plays Monse, and Diego, who plays Caesar. Because I feel like that's one of the other highlights of this the show, that we want to see what happens between them. That I didn't get enough of them, but we got enough of Ruby and Jasmine. I don't know why did they have more? Their relationship was more in this season than Monse and Caesar dynamic. Because once it got to Caesar and Monse, I felt like it was kind of rushed, and that got annoying. Also, kind of like the relationships between the parents and kids is a little bit odd to me because I don't know the boundaries. And especially, that's why I always question who are the writers in these rooms. Because if you're a child, especially from the black culture and the foreign culture or the Hispanic culture, I know for a fact that there's certain boundaries that we have with our parents, being that they're a little bit more strict. And there's certain things we can't do. Like, for instance, if you're going to have sex in your house, you have to sneak. You have to do that when your parents was in at home. Like, if you're going to have somebody at your house, you're going to have to sneak and do that. The fact that Ruby and Jasmine were having sex while the parents are having in the house, and they were, like, pretty much just boasting about it, a little weird to me. Because, like, the cultures, for what I know and in my experience, you can't do those certain things. So it was weird to me. Like I said, some of the choices just seemed odd to me, seemed too mature, in way too unrealistic, in my opinion. I don't know about anybody else's household or how they grew up, but I just know, like, from the friends that I have and from my own experience, certain things you can't do, and especially like cursing and yeah. The flashbacks was a little off-putting to me. I felt like the transition between the flashbacks and when they go back to the present was not smooth. That really felt it could have been smoother. Actually, I felt like the show, once it got towards the ending, the last few episodes, it did feel kind of rushed. It felt like they'll start a new story beat, and then it didn't commit, and the payoff wasn't worth it, in my opinion. Like, for instance, once we get to the whole who's stalking Jamal in this tinted truck, and then when it got to the reveal, it just felt like, what? Like, that was it? You know, I don't know. I just felt like there was a lot of unanswered questions that in the show that I just felt like, oh, okay. But overall, I felt like the season was good. There were some choices that I didn't enjoy, but I felt satisfied enough to say, like, this show was a great show. It was a great show, and I'm still a fan of it, but I have to review these very unbiasedly, so I don't even know if that's a word. But I feel like this show was satisfying. I'm sad to see it go, but I do appreciate that the creators, the people behind the show, didn't sacrifice the integrity of the show and kept it going for I don't know how many seasons. Although as a fan, I would have liked that, but I'm happy that they made that decision to end it on a high note, and it did. And I do hope there's some spin-offs for certain characters. My main spin-off would have been Spooky, but that's just my opinion, and that won't ever happen. But hey, it is what it is. Yeah, I really enjoyed this show overall, and I really enjoyed the season. So, all right, guys. So that's gonna be it for my review. If this is your first time, please like, comment, subscribe, hit that post notification bell. Tell your friends, tell your family that Aboutdre got something to say. And that's it. I'll catch you in the next video.